So we're here at London's centre point where Nokia have just made their Ovi-Maps announcement, and the big news here is that Ovi-Maps has gone free. Navigation, both car and pedestrian, will be available to all Nokia Symbian phones for no charge. And that's contrasting with previously when it was charging about £50 per region plus £15 for traffic and £3 for each city guide. Now everything is free worldwide, 74 countries, 65 languages. So to start off with, Nokia is supporting 10 handsets. That's the likes of the N97 Mini, the E72, the 5800, the 5230 and a couple of others. They say they'll be expanding it in due course. The N97, for example, is expected to be supported in a few weeks, and it will roll out to more Nokia devices in due course. For MIMO N900 users, that is, we're also indicated that this free navigation service will also be coming to MIMO. For those devices that have the compatibility announced today, you can go to www.nokia.com/maps and download the new version. With that new version, you get a little bit of new functionality, a reworked UI, Facebook sharing, and of course, the free navigation functionality. So I just had a quick look online, and TomTom's share price, following on from this announcement, is down 10%. Be interesting to see where that goes over the longer course. Of course, the thing is here, from tomorrow, or actually from today, you go down to a high street shop for £100, you could get a 5230 on pay as you go, and you've got a device with an integrated GPS, with a cellular connection, which is a global GPS navigation system. Now that compares fairly interestingly with the basic TomTom Start, again about £100. You can get sat-nav down to about £60. But bear in mind those sat-navs typically only cover the UK, don't include traffic information and don't include any updates. Now there is obviously advantage of having a standalone unit, but really what Nokia have done is overnight they've changed the economics of the sat-nav industry, and really PND devices, that's personal navigation devices, were already declining in sales, and I think this announcement is only going to accelerate that trend. Yeah, no, I mean I was thinking about this and thinking, something like, as I say, the 5230, it's a widescreen device, pretty good screen, works quite well in sunlight. Just have it sitting in the car as a secondary device. The only fly in the ointment really here is the need for a SIM card, and you need that for things like traffic information. But one of the interesting bits of the announcement today that Nokia stressed was their hybrid technology, which means you can sideload all the maps onto the device. So that means there's no data required for that. And importantly, which wasn't the case in earlier versions of Ovi-Maps, you can now have the navigation work as well. So you could, buy a device, literally, and use it like a TomTom, sideload on the maps. Okay, you don't get the online searching or the traffic updates, but you can use it as a PND. And as I say, it's worldwide, and you can update the maps anytime you like. And bear in mind, Nokia owns Navtech, which is creating all the maps, and they update maps basically on about a 6-monthly basis. And in some places, some countries, that's very important, where there's a lot of road construction or where there's maybe been a natural disaster. So that kind of capability, that hybrid online-offline, yeah, I think so. I can easily see myself just having a spare device sitting in the car. You walk into a mobile phone shop, and there's nearly always 3 bullet points on the phone. It's normally the camera, internet access, and something else. So now for every Nokia device, it's going to say comes with navigation, and it doesn't cost you anything. So how do Samsung, Sony Ericsson come up with that? Now the Android devices, the Motorola Droid and the Nexus have this free navigation in the States, and they have the sort of the Street View built in as well. But that only works in the States. So clearly Google need to roll this out quickly, or they risk being left behind. And it's even more serious for the likes of Samsung, Sony Ericsson, because yes, I do think this is a very important differentiator. Sat-nav is something that's already very well established in the consumer mindset. So do they have to match it? Yes, I think they probably do, and that's going to cost them money. And they might be able to do it with something like Google Maps, but will it offer the richness of the service here? That's open to debate. So I think Nokia, just in terms of increasing their device sales, that one factor, without looking at the deeper implications, they will sell more handsets, and that's very important to their bottom line, especially when you look at the recent figures for device sales over the last few quarters. Nokia will have done themselves a big favour by making this announcement. And yes, it's catch-up time for everybody else. And it's pretty obvious here that the big competitor for Ovi-Maps is Google Maps. It's bundled on the iPhone, it's bundled on Android, and increasingly it's being used on feature phones and other smartphones. For example, Sony Ericsson and Samsung have both bundled it on some of their smartphones. And I think, yes, there's some critical differences. Google Maps on most devices doesn't support any kind of turn-by-turn voice navigation. It only works in online mode, which means you need a significant data plan. So if you're roaming, Google Maps usage is pretty much out because it's a couple of megabytes easily for a 10-minute bit of navigation. It also doesn't work in areas where there's no signal, of course. So if you're roaming on, shall we say, a different country, it may not always work. It does have some advantage. I mean, I think it's worth pointing out that Google Maps still has superior search capabilities, particularly its points of information database. But when you measure against that, most of the time people are going to familiar locations. It's not necessarily a big advantage as you might suppose. And clearly Google is bigger on the desktop than Ovi-Maps is on the desktop, but they're playing catch up with the Ovi Player API. So yes, there's a two-horse race here, and I think that has deeper implications, which are interesting to look at.